Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today I have something a little more special for you from my normal builds. This is kind of more of a work in progress build that I've been screwing around with a lot in Cyrodiil lately, and I thought it's been kind of fun. This build is something a little bit more non-traditional than the standard PvP builds you're running around with. This build isn't meant to be a tank, it isn't meant to kill everything, it isn't meant to be a great healer. It's meant to be a complete goddamn nuisance. And I believe I've achieved that with this build. This is going to be a Mage Warden that focuses primarily on not letting you play the game at all. Now, what do you mean by that, you might be asking? This build is going to constantly CC or snare you to the point where you're not allowed to play the game unless you are running snow treaders or have some possible way of keeping 100% uptime on immovability and CC resistance. Now, the way we achieve this is just going to be very simple, and we're going to get into that after we look at the stats here. We're going to put 37 points into Magicka, 27 into health. We're playing a Breton for this for the extra sustain. Our stats don't look too impressive when you look at it. But that's not too important because all you need to worry about is surviving and just annoying your enemies, which you'll do plenty of. We're going to go with the Atronach Mundus. The extra recovery here, pretty good. We're running the Bewitched Sugar Skulls just so we have that all around stat pool. You're going to find that your recovery is going to be enough when people aren't going to be able to, attack you constantly because they're dealing with all your annoying things. Now let's get into the gear, which makes up a very big part of this because we're built to be annoying again. We're running the Nunatak Visage. It's a set that comes out of the Imperial City. I like it because it's just a little more of a radius snare and it stacks up. That snare will also apply with your immobilization, so they're dealing with all this nonsense where they can't move. Now, you're not going to deal enough damage to kill people in the most cases, but the debuffs that come out of these ice-related procs are pretty interesting. This one gives you Major Brittle. Now, that will cause your target to take 20% more critical damage. So if you run around with a Nightblade friend that wants to gank people, boom, they're taking 20% more critical damage if this set goes off. Run Hrothgars. Now, I know some of my traits on here are a little bit messed up. Ideally, you want to run like Impen, maybe Reinforced. Definitely Reinforced on your chest piece here, and then Impen on the smaller pieces. If you don't want to run Impen, go ahead and run Sturdy or Well Fitted. We're running Hrothgars just for that little bit of extra tankiness and that extra proc, because you're going to be stunning and immobilizing people a lot with this build. Now this is going to give them a small, not really important kind of little bomb on them. I shouldn't say bomb, but I mean it's going to explode on them. It's going to do a little bit of area damage. It can't be blocked. It ignores resistances. It's not going to hit them like a truck like it used to, but the idea is that it's going to keep that chilled status effect up. Now, we have all these status effects for the cold things proccing, but how do we keep them up? That's where we use Surf and Sustain. It's going to give you a few nice stat buffs, but it increases the duration of all status effects by 16 seconds. This means you're going to have a constant major chill or major brittle. You're going to have these things up, constantly. People aren't going to be able to avoid taking the extra damage and losing some damage from your debuffs. And you're going to be able to keep, constantly proccing these snares, immobilizations, CC. You're going to keep this going at all times. And like I said, if somebody's not running snow treaders or they're not having 100% uptime on immovability, they're going to have a really bad time. They might not be able to, kill you because, you're stunning them constantly, and you're not going to be able to kill them, but that creates an eternal stalemate where you're just annoying the hell out of your enemy. Now let's go into our sets, our skills here. First thing on our ice bar, we have Blockade of Frost. This will also give your allies a nice little damage shield from projectiles. It does give it to you as well. It's nice. You don't necessarily need it. Helps you survive though. But this can also immobilize chilled enemies that step in this. So if they're not running, immovability, if they're not on stow treaders, boom, they're chilled, they can't move. Another snare, another CC. Winter's Revenge. This snares them by 30%. The damage isn't going to do anything, of course, but you have a high chance to apply that chilled status effect. Crystallized Shield, I don't have this morphed. You're going to want to go to the one that spits ice back at your enemy, because that's just going to add on to the more annoying things that you can do to them. But this is also a very big shield from any projectiles, so you're going to want to keep this up once you're in a group fight, just so you don't get, nuked or something. Deep Fissure. We don't have this here for a snare, we don't have this here for a stun. We have this because it affects them with major and minor breach. So while you're not going to kill them yourself, you're taking away so much resistances from them. You're taking away their critical resistance. You are basically just making this target able to be nuked by any of your nearby allies. The Blue Betty Netch. We use this for extra Magicka sustain, extra, stats with our weapon spell damage pool. Of course, we're not going to be killing anything alone more than likely, but I've gotten a few kills with it. It'll happen here and there. Every 5 seconds, it's going to purge a negative effect from you. If that negative effect is Plague Break, stay away from your group. Don't bomb them. Northern Storm. Another snare by 40%. You could run Permafrost here. It is a little more of an aggressive option. But you can also get extra weapon and spell damage with this. And you and any nearby allies are going to gain major protection, which is going to help your people survive. Now, I have gotten a few kills with just comboing your buff here with a Netch, or with the Shocks, and then with Northern Storm. You will get a few if they're low and they can't fight back. It's kind of the idea of this build, that you're just kind of trolling people to death. Then our Sword and Board bar, which is going to be more important for healing and staying alive. Another debuff that I really love here is Major Defile and Minor Cowardice. So now, on top of you taking all their resistances away, taking that critical resistance away, you're now further trolling them by taking their weapon and spell damage and taking their healing received. All the meanwhile, if you go into this, it's going to heal you and your allies. Deceptive Predator. This is our major expedition. If you gotta get out of somewhere, pop it, run. Gives you immunity to snares and mobilizations. So you're not going to be the person who gets hit by this build and can't do anything. Minor evasion on the back bar. Any area attack's going to do 10% less damage to you. Ice Fortress, minor protection. Your big buff here for your stats. Polar Wind. Now this heal is just insane lately. I mean, with the current state of Warden, if you're not really running Polar Wind, I have a lot of questions as to what you're doing. But it's going to scale off your max health. It's going to be a very big heal for you. And it's going to help you heal your allies just as well. Enchanted Growth. We use this for an extra recovery buff. It's also your little burst heal there. Healing Thicket. Just a back bar healing all if you really need to drop it. It's going to be kind of your lifeline if you're going to die instantly. Also can save your teammates. Nice little thing to have. Now let's go into the CP, which isn't too important on this build because it's just meant to troll people. It's not meant to kill or be a god tank or anything. Your green tree's not going to matter. And just put on whatever you need here. It's not going to affect your combat too much. Blue tree, untamed aggression, extra damage, biting aura. We do a lot of area damage with this build. Like I said, you're probably not going to kill anyone, but you have a little bit of chance to do it if you see somebody low enough, you can. Ironclad, less damage that you're taking helps you survive. We're going to run something to reduce that damage. Now, I use Arcane Supremacy just to keep up some extra max magicka on this build. We want to keep our stats up nice and high. Fortified, extra armor. Boundless Vitality, extra health. Rejuvenation. Just keep all this recovery up. Your main focus is to survive and troll the hell out of your enemy. Pain's Refuge. I use this for the... Well, we do have a purge on this build, but it only comes every 5 seconds. So, every negative effect you have on you, for every 2 of them, it's going to reduce your damage taken. So if you end up stacking a lot of debuffs on yourself, you just keep that netch up and you keep this, CP on. You're going to be harder to kill even then. But for everything I have with this build, I've been really enjoying it. It is a work in progress build. If you have any ideas of what you think would make this more annoying, more trolly, more rage inducing, please go ahead and leave me a comment. I'd love to start talking with you guys at Theorycraft. As always, just leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.